Hello, I'm journalist and comedian James Mullinger. 6 years ago, I left London, England and moved to St. John, New Brunswick. Since then, my stand-up career has taken me to just about every town and city in Atlantic Canada, which, let's face it, has provided plenty of material. But I've also come to realise that this place is special and, crucially, underappreciated. So my wife Pam and I started a magazine, the Maritime Edit, to celebrate its natural beauty and the incredible spirit of the people here. But now, I'm embarking on a tour to meet some of Atlantic Canada's most interesting and dynamic people and chat with them about what drives and inspires them and hear what they love so much about this place that we're all so proud to call home. Today I'm heading to the Acadian Peninsula in Northern New Brunswick to meet renowned entrepreneur and alcohol producer Sébastien Roy. Sebastian is a lover of both spirits and the province of New Brunswick. In 2011, he combined those passions to create Distillerie Fils Du Roy, a distillery based in Petit Paquetville that has continued to grow since then to include a brewery and a second location in Quebec. Sebastian and his spirits have won multiple national and international awards, including several international gold medals for their signature Gin Thuya, literally one of the best gins in the world, made right here in New Brunswick. I'll be meeting Sebastian on site at the distillery to discuss his passion for craft alcohol, community development, and his Acadian culture. I'm James Mullinger, and this is Atlantic Edition. So today I'm on my way to one of the only places in my chosen home province of New Brunswick that I've actually never been to before. Petit Paquetville on the Acadian Peninsula. A small place that happens to be home to one of the world's most renowned distilleries and one of New Brunswick's most driven entrepreneurs, Sébastien Roy. Sebastian first became interested in alcohol production around the same time that I started consuming it, 14 years old. I've heard that he set up a secret lab in his bedroom, learning that he could mix yeast, sugar and water and produce alcohol. Genius. I can't wait to meet him and learn what drives him as he works to produce world-class products while also celebrating the rich Acadian culture and providing employment in his home region. And maybe enjoy a drop ski or two myself when the samples come out. Strictly for research, of course. Here we go. Sebastian!
Hey, how are you?
I'm very good. It's a real honor to meet you. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Pleasure for me.
I'm a big fan of your work, and I can't wait to explore and see where the magic happens. But the first thing I really want to know is where did your passion for alcohol production come from?
Oh my goodness, that was long time ago. People don't remember, but a long time ago, before internet and Google and all those technology, there were books. My parents bought an encyclopedia. There were a lot of books. And there was a certificate saying that all that knowledge would come to me when I would be older. So I started to look, and I found a book on ethylic fermentation. By reading it, I discovered that it produced alcohol. So one day when the time was perfect, I was in the kitchen alone. I took the biggest jar my mother had. It was a glass jar, and I added water, sugar, and she had some yeast to produce bread. So I put a lot of it, I closed it, hide it in the basement in my bedroom. And the day after, when I took out the jar, it was moving. And I was around 14. So at that time, if something was moving, it was alive. I was so impressed of myself creating life from the ingredient from the kitchen. That was the first time I produced alcohol.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm amazed that at 14, you would be able to even kind of pull off something like that. What happened next? Like, you did it once, you've created life, you've also created alcohol, which is the dream, let's face it.
But I was very scared because the adults at that time were saying that if you produce alcohol, you can become blind. And that the encyclopedia was not mentioning how it would happen to me. So it took a few years before I realized that when you ferment sugar, you can't become blind.
Right.
So I started university and I had a little corner at my apartment dedicated on alcohol production. And I realized I was studying in business. I realized one thing, at university I learned a lot. But the thing I learned quickly is when you produce alcohol at university, you have a lot of friends.
Yeah, I bet, yeah.
So,
you must have been the most popular person.
I was pretty popular on Friday night anyway, so that started even to perform better on producing alcohol, better taste, diversity in product. And eventually after graduation, 2004, I registered my first nano brewery, Acadian Peninsula, that I sold in 2011 to start distillation in Petit Paquetville.
Wow.
So that's how quickly I became passionate about alcohol.
Right, so I mean, during that period, was it during the period at university in Moncton that you kind of realized that there was clearly a demand for alcohol, which obviously, but also that through your business degree that you would be able to kind of turn this into a thriving business?
At that time, I was what I call at that time a beer hunter. There was not a lot of microbrewery, so you had to travel around the world to find some fine beer and fine alcohol. So I traveled in Belgium, north of France, UK, Germany, Czech Republic, and that's where I saw all those beer with nice story, with local ingredient, and that was very inspiring.
Yeah.
So that's why when I came back here, I said, we should be able to do the same. It's not because we're from New Brunswick that we cannot create alcohol from the land. So that was my inspiration.
And so how did you transition from your first beer into all of this? And where did this idea come from? And how did you kind of get it to this point?
So that's where, after that, I transitioned it from beer to started to distillate. After a trip in Czech Republic, in Prague, they had absinthe. At that time, it was illegal in Europe, except in Czech Republic and Spain. So we went in an absinthe bar and tried it, and when they poured the water, it became white. So I was amazed how that chemical reaction happened in my glass, just there, the smell. So when I came back, I took out my potato and my carrots from my garden, pushed them aside and started to grow absinthe, isopus, mélisse, all the botanics to produce absinthe. And in my garage, I started to distillate, and eventually I got it.
Wow.
So that's why in 2011, I was trying to open a business, and I said, we need a distillery, and I want to be an absinthe producer. So that's how it started.
That's incredible. And I remember when absinthe was illegal in England, because I mean, when I was a teenager, you know, it was the holy grail to get your hands on a bottle. And because, yeah, it was this thing that was banned and you couldn't have it. And
there was like a magical aspect.
There was. And you also started with gin as well. Like, what was it, do you think, about those two specific spirits that you thought that these are the ones I should start with?
The gin was an accident, actually. So when my family was visiting us, I was providing the absinthe and explaining everything, and they were asking me, but what is in the clear bottle? Oh, no, that's a test, it's gin. So when they tried it, they say, I like your absinthe, but it's your gin I want to buy. It was not for sale. So eventually I inspired from the same label of the absinthe, I modified the color and changed a little bit to do a gin, and I had the label for it. But in the competition around the world, I was sending my product. Absinthe was around silver, sometimes bronze medal, but the gin was always double gold. So eventually I became a gin producer. But it was an accident. It's not what I wanted. It was not my intention.
And And that's one of the things that I love so much about your story, and one of the things that I've admired so much when following your journey, is that in addition to being an entrepreneur and a world-renowned distiller, you're obviously very, very proud of your Acadian heritage, and also you're an incredible community leader. And let's not forget, I mean, providing a vast amount of employment in this region. How do you kind of, how do you kind of reconcile that in your brain when you're kind of, defining what you do?
That, it's a little story I have to tell you. It started when I was at school. I was not good in math, not good in French. There was one thing I was very good at, and I don't know why. It was history. I was in that class, the same as the other class, but when the teacher was speaking, it stayed. And I was probably one of the best of my class. But history, what do you do with history? But eventually, when I opened the business, we had to choose names. And I had all those stories that was coming back. There was so many history that was that was inspiring for me. Right. So that's why I started to name them with people that mark the history of my region.
Right.
For the community, without the community, we would not be there.
Right.
So without people, clients that support us, there would be no Distillerie Fils Du Roy. So that's why at some point you need to give back to your community, because without them you would not be there.
Right, and I mean that's one of the things I love so much about your products is I love the fact that on each and every label, while you're drinking, you can learn something about Acadian history, and that is an incredible thing. Drinking and learning, what more is there?
Yes, no, I like it too.
And I know that in addition to obviously history and community, family is incredibly important to you. And I know obviously your family were very supportive of your aspirations as a 14-year-old alcohol maker. Can you tell me a bit about how your mum kind of inspired you and how that kind of how that relationship is built?
August 2011, and my mother was in the printing industry. But they were at that time the movement of not printing. So that really hurt the printing industry. So she was seeing that it was not going well. She was working in that industry all her life, and she was worried. So I said, you need a plan B. We need to start a little business. It was not easy at the beginning. My father, I have a lot of respect for him, and he came to talk to me and he said, do you realize your mother worked all her life? She put money aside with not a big salary all her life, and you're about to ask her to take all her economy to invest that in a distillery to produce at Saint. Oh, let me tell you, it made me think twice. I said, there was risk, and it's true. There was a possibility that we lose everything.
Right.
So I went to see my mother, and I said to my mother, you realize there's a risk that we lose all of it. And she answered to me, is it your father that talked to you? Tell your father it's my money and I will open a distillery and he should come to talk to me and not to you. So I said, okay, let's start the distillery. But it was at that time, there was even among the family some risk, because there was a big risk.
Yeah.
So, but then my father always have been very close and always help us. He's a co-owner with us now, but at the beginning, it was not easy.
Yeah.
Just to take the decision to go in business was not easy.
Yeah, I mean it's terrifying, and they say, as they say, no risk, no reward, and the proof's in the pudding here. But what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs on the east coast of Canada looking to do something that sounds outlandish, like creating an absinthe distillery on the Acadian Peninsula? Someone that wants to do something and they're probably feeling scared, like we all would be at the beginning. But what advice would you give them?
Start small. Small in terms of risk, small in terms of investment, and build. So instead, if you want to have a business, there's one side business you dream of, maybe cut it by half, and even if it takes you 3 more years to get where you want, it will pay back. If you go too big, too quick, the risk is higher, and then it can it can bite. So my advice would be to start a little bit smaller and to build from there. So would you be ready to visit our installation?
I would love to.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
Oh, Sebastien is a very passionate person, likes to create. He is at his best when he is creating new products and working on innovation and new projects and never out of ideas. Always has a very simple solution to very complex problems. And not just create new products, but create new products in a new way. He wants to revolutionize everything he touches. He wants he's gonna make whiskey. He wants to create a new way of making whiskey. I think you can expect that you will keep hearing about him for a long time.
Very excited to show you our malt house. It's a 6 ton of grain that we put in the tank, and it gives us 5 tons of malt. And then the starch is easy after that to convert in sugar. And just beside you have the lab where we will produce our own yeast. So we want to have a total control on each step of production of our whiskey, from the field for the barley to the yeast that we will develop here in Petit Paquetville.
Wow, that's incredible. So every single ingredient from here. I mean, there can't be many places in Canada that can say that every single ingredient in their whiskey is made in one place.
For us, it's very important that we buy local, that we buy those grains from local farmers. It do rotation in their crops.
Right.
And it adds a flavor. We try to have all our barley from a maximum of 5 kilometers from the sea to give a salty flavor to the whiskey.
Wow.
So we are here in the distillery. The technology we use here is very old. We don't use those type of copper pots still like that anymore, especially the condensator. It produces very, very oily whiskeys, and they don't use that anymore. But we are super proud to use those old technology that produce very oily whiskey that give a lot of flavor and it linger longer. We cut it with water and then we bottle it, and that's the most pure we can have.
Wow. Wow, it smells amazing in here.
Yes, it's the rest place for the whiskey. It's the last part. They stay here for 3 to 40 years, actually. And the smell is very costly for us. We lose 3 to 5% of the barrel every year. After 50 years, we are half of it. It's called the angel share. Are you ready for a tasting?
I sure am.
I will suggest the Capitaine Saint-Simon that I spoke to you about.
And this is how you should always drink whiskey in theory. Like, it should be as small as that.
When you want to appreciate,
Yeah,
yes.
right.
If you want to drink the whiskey, you
yeah.
take a big glass and you put ice in it and you drink it.
Right.
But if you want to really go see all the nuance, that would be the way.
Right.
For the Gin Thuya, that's the gin that we produce and win a lot of medal internationally. I will just show you how you can mix it. Gin is gin, but I will just show you a little interesting experience with gin. So if you can smell it, and try to remember the smell. Now I will add a drop, or I put 2. And now smell the difference. It opened all the flavor. Now you can see the cinnamon, the cardamom, the nutmeg, you can see the juniper, the coriander.
What is that?
Water.
No way.
Just 2 drops of water and everything open. What happened is the essential oil are all soluble in the alcohol, but they're not soluble in water. So when you add water, all those essential oil want to go away. So then your nose can capture them, and when you will taste it, your taste bud will be able to capture them easier.
Incredible. Cheers. Wow.
So 45% alcohol, it's a big gin. The flavor are not shy, as you can see.
Yeah.
It's a better gin for tonic than for martini because of the intense flavor.
It's delicious. Is this the one that won in London, England?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the one that you got double gold for, which I believe means that's a unanimous judge's decision.
Yes. All the judge assign a gold medal. So when all the judge assign gold medal, they call it a double gold.
So I mean, we're really not exaggerating when we say that this is a globally renowned gin being made here on the Acadian Peninsula.
Yes, we are very happy, very proud of that product.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, you're clearly innovating all of the time, and you're clearly coming up with new ideas all the time. And I know your work is your life, but what's next for you personally?
Oh, for me, I have a lot of different plans, but one day I would like to take 2-week vacation. That's my plan. Working on it. Maybe next year.
That's a good dream to have. It's been such an incredible day, and I can't thank you enough for your insights, for everything that you do for the region. And it says it all, that your dream and ambition is just to have a 2-week holiday, because that is entrepreneurial spirit, and I really, really look up to you, and I can't thank you enough for today.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'll drink to you. Cheers.